Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Welcome to you. Welcome to Lorena's Labyrinth and the channel today. Obviously, today we're going to be talking about one of my favourite crystals, Rainbow Moonstone. You will, if you've managed to watch the other video that I put up on Labradoriate, you will probably already know that a lot of the stuff that we buy and we think we're buying Rainbow Moonstone is actually white Labradorite. So I've been educating myself a little bit when it comes to actually the buying process of Rainbow Moonstone. Before I get into the actual content of the video, I just want to say that if you've got any questions or thoughts or contributions, by all means, please make your comments in the description or the comment section of the videos when I load it. The other thing is that I do put timing stamps or whatever they're called into the video so that you can actually just jump along to the bits that interest you, so that you're not bored, stupid, listening to stuff that really is not relevant to you. The other thing that I would probably say is if you make a comment underneath the description part of the video when I upload it, goodness me, I'm struggling and stumbling over my words as usual today. Where I'm going with this is I do responses on the Sunday yarning video, which goes up on a Sunday, obviously. And I'm more than happy to expand on information if I haven't articulated it effectively when I'm creating the videos, or if there's new information that has come to date. If people have got questions or to acknowledge the contributions of other people, I will certainly do that on the Sunday video. But anyway, let's get straight into it. So before we talk about Rainbow Moonstone, it's actually really important, I feel, this was part of my learning. I was not aware, because these are not crystals that I've actually come across, certainly not handled them, shall we say. But moonstone in itself comes in a range of different colours, and this is where things get thrown off a little bit. It's a bit difficult for us, the buyer, when we're trying to buy, and to make sure that we buy the authentic item, shall we say, especially because there's so much similarity between one crystal than another, and it's usually in the mineral composition of the crystal that we're able to determine how or what an item, a crystal or a gemstone is. And this is why you will often see recommendations that you take it to a specialist, I can't remember their name right now, but where they can actually do some testing and establish exactly what crystal it is. One of the websites that I looked at, I saw, well, actually it wasn't a website, it was actually a YouTube blog on identifying the real McCoy of moonstone from the false. And one lady made the comment that she thought she had orange moonstone, which we can see here that moonstone does come in an orange colour, whereas it actually wasn't. She'd bought carnelian, and once she had it described to her by the professionals, she was able to recognise, actually, I thought I bought orange moonstone, but I didn't. It's helpful, I think, in the past for me, that I knew prospectors. So sometimes I would get crystals from prospectors directly, and they're usually a very good source of information. But having said that, I never got any moonstone from any of them, because obviously where they were prospecting, it wasn't available. It's not a source, shall we say, in the areas where I was living and where they were working. Now, I'm not going to go into all of these different types of moonstones and their colours for this particular video. I'm going to stick to the fact that I love moonstone, and through sourcing this video, I recognise actually now that I do have what I thought was moonstone. I've got both. I've actually got the genuine moonstone, the Rainbow Moonstone, and then I've got the white Labradorite, which has got the blue and rainbow type flashes in it. Thank you, God. Feel very blessed about that. So, as discussed on other videos, I don't get locked into the star sign associations with a crystal. For me, it's you go with the one that you're drawn to, and especially if you're purchasing in person and you're handling it, you will know which crystal that you need to buy. But as far as the Zodiac goes, it's put out there that rainbow or moonstone is best suited to people that are Geminis. I don't know about that. I'll be quite honest. I don't know about that. I do believe, well, I know there's no belief about it. I've got a Gemini in my Astro chart in one of what they call the houses. So perhaps that's why it resonates so much with me, why I love it, because I really am drawn to it. But I always thought that I was drawn to it because it's got the rainbow flashes, but who knows? So, just as an overview, Moonstone is often referred to as the stone of new beginnings because it obviously draws its energy from the moon. This is why it's called Moonstone, or this is the belief and theory, and the moon phases. So it's an inspiring crystal. It inspires personal growth. It inspires people to go with the flow, to release resistance, to understand that life is all about cycles. So it's quite empowering, it's nurturing. It brings hope, it brings joy. It's very positive. It also brings creativity. This might be another reason why I enjoy it as well, is it tends to promote creativity and artistic pursuits. If you're into things like your spiritual journey, the divine plan, the divine path, it's believed that actually assists you to not only stay on your path, but to understand the path that you're walking. Because quite a lot of the time, we will go through this path and just be questioning, like, I accept that this is part of the pathway, this is part of the divine plan, but gee, that was a, pretty big kicking lesson that I had to go through or whatever. Perhaps that's not the right way to describe it. Look, I will put it into perspective in as far as, from my personal experience, I recognised that I was on track, I was on path, but I did not understand why. There were some really big challenges we had to get through, not just me, family members as well. And it was probably about 15 years after they started that I became aware of why, because it was basically those challenges are what gave me the authority, if you like, or expertise to speak on subjects that are close to people's heart, and also, I guess, to motivate and inspire me to do my social work degree. Because even if, and I'll be honest about it, I don't have, I'm trying to think of the correct words. I'm not sure that doing my social work degree has actually benefited me by way of material pursuits, shall we say, or from a working perspective. However, what I did find with both the counselling and the social work degrees combined, it provided a level of insight to myself, my experiences, my self-awareness, to be able to recognise what's mine and what isn't. So perhaps Moonstone is part of that. And by that I mean, a lot of the time we're living through the consequences of poor choices, because you can't escape it. Once you've made a decision, you can always change your mind and pick a different path, but sometimes the past rears its head, especially if it was unpleasant. You've got to work through it. But anyway, moving on from that, as a metaphysical overview, it's very recommended for women, okay, because it is, as I said, connected to feminine energy and cycles. So put that together. But it also helps to bring in nurturing type emotions, caring, this patience, and even the wisdom. So based on the research, and I'm open to correction here, I managed to get, obviously, this very basic mineral information. I didn't want to go too overboard because honestly it just gets too complex. But what I understand is that the way you differentiate between what is real authentic moonstone and what we call moonstone, which actually, just to put this into perspective here, when you look at the thumbnail that I've got for this video, you see what many of us actually believe to be moonstone. It's very pretty and all the rest of it, but it's not like this image that we've got here, okay? The one that I've got here is actually the genuine article. The one on the thumbnail is what I would imagine is actually white Labradorite, but because the difference apparently with discerning is that genuine moonstone is actually almost transparent, okay, translucent. And of course, the ones that I like, the ones with the blue flashes or the rainbow type flashes, they're all found in Sri Lanka. But of course, you can find moonstones throughout the world. These are just a couple of the locations here. And of course, many people are actually carving into the moonstones. But my understanding too is that generally speaking, moonstone if it's going to be used for jewellery, is always cut in this oval shape that we've got here, which is called my pronunciation I hope is correct, cabochon, with these plain surfaces. But sometimes you're going to see people that have actually made jewellery and they're flogging it on these platforms with the facets in them. Well, I think that's a pretty good indicator that that's actually not really moonstone, because apparently a jeweler will never ever cut moonstone with facets. Okay, so that's a good indicator there. Now, once again, I'm hazarding a guess here, but when it comes to selecting your moonstone or identifying what's what, look, I'll be honest, I don't have an issue with buying the Rainbow Moonstone that's actually really white Labradorite, because I think that's particularly beautiful as well. But I do have some pieces where we've got this little pendant on the right hand side. I actually have some like that and some without the flaws as well, because obviously I'm a little piggy sometimes with crystals. And I hope you can't hear my dog running rampant. We'll just pretend he's not really running in and out or squeaking on his toy. Okay, so back to the video. What I believe we've got here, as I say, I'm open to correction, is if you look at the big image, I believe this is moonstone in the rough, and this is obviously the white or rainbow type one, I would imagine. When it's carved, it will look a bit like the one on the right, but it depends on the part of the ore body or the actual big rock that you're cutting the pendants of, because you can imagine if that's a big mineral sample, you're going to get a lot of these little pendants out of it, or earrings or whatever, and not all of them are going to have fractures through them, and not all of them are going to have this beautiful blue. Now, I know when I buy earrings, because once upon a time I bought some and one had more flash than the other, and it was like, no, can you at least, if you're going to send me earrings, make sure they come from the same part of the actual rock, so that they both carry the same amount of this blue reflection in them. Now, if we look at the little image and the ore on the left-hand side of the slide here, I believe that we're looking at white Labradorite here with the little blue sheen on it. But of course, let me know your thoughts, especially if you're in the trade and you do the cutting and that kind of stuff. You're going to have a better eye for detail than what I am. I'm more used to looking at the end product. So my apologies, sorry, I've had to stop and start to sort out a couple of things here and then come back. But getting back to moonstone, when we talk about the spiritual perspectives of it, it's a very powerful crystal. It's said to have many spiritual advantages, and we can see here that there is this where it's attributed to support reconnecting to the source. Okay, so what this kind of means is that where we feel isolated, alone, disconnected, detached from people, and even traveling the path of life as being an alone person, when we reconnect to the source of who we are and the creator, we are said to be reconnecting to the light and the love. So of course moonstone is attributed to carry this energy with it. Other things is that it's said to nourish and sustain our spirituality. It's got a warmth to it. Anything I've got to say that's got the rainbow hues attached to it, whether it's the white Labradorite or whether it's the moonstone, does carry this aspect of connection. And in fact, I would go as far as saying that from a spiritual or metaphysical perspective, when we have the rainbow flashes on a crystal, we're also talking about being able to connect to the angelic or the celestial kingdoms. If you're into fairies and nature and the nature kingdom, if you look back through history, there is what was referred to as the Rainbow Bridge, and that it was being able to cross the Rainbow Bridge that you were able to access this form of divine guidance. So this is what we get from Rainbow Moonstone. Now, the other aspects of this is if a person is willing or desiring starting over again, having a totally new beginning, then moonstone, particularly Rainbow Moonstone. We're not actually going forward. If I say moonstone, I'm talking about Rainbow Moonstone, okay? So anyway, it's credited with starting over, having a whole new fresh start. It's supportive of people doing their psychic development. One of the gifts that it carries apparently is making it a really suitable crystal for using as a pendulum or with divination, and to develop your extrasensory perception. Now, I make a difference here between what we call ESP and what we call psychic gifts, because ESP is primarily intuitive. It's that inner knowing, and this is the bit that people refer to as being feminine, okay? Because most women are credited to have, mother's instinct or this inner knowing. I just know, they intuitively know. And women historically, and there's no intention here to say that men are better than women or vice versa. This is not a comparison. This is something that has been historically the case. But we do see in more modern times that men are tapping into their intuitive gifts as well. But by the yin and the yang energies, we're talking about feminine energy. And I'm not going to go into this whole lecture of you can be male and female and have masculine and feminine polarities within each of us, but I kind of am touching on it. It's how we live our life and the choices that we make demonstrate if we're living with feminine energy or masculine energy. So you can have somebody who is a female who is highly masculine energy and vice versa. And you can have somebody that identifies as a female or a male, right, that chosen identity stuff, but who are still living primarily by a specific energy. And it might be masculine and it might be feminine. So anyway, to keep the video shorter, I will sort of just brush on to some of the other benefits of Rainbow Moonstone, and that is that it's for good luck, good fortune. Travellers can benefit from it. It's supposed to be good for wearing if you're driving or flying anywhere. You could even put a piece in your car as part of protecting your car. It's good for love and relationships. It helps to mend broken hearts. Of course, these are the attributes, or to heal from a relationship ending and any issues that you might have. Other times it's said to be able to attract the divine romantic and intimate partner. And if you're already in an existing relationship, then it's said to be able to bring more romance into that relationship. On the other hand, you might be wanting to connect with more people. You might want to have more friends. You might want to find your soul pack or people with like minds. Or you could be an artist seeking to increase your capacity for self-expression. You could even just be somebody who wants to be able to talk more effectively and use Rainbow Moonstone for those. It's when we look at the physical healing attributes of Rainbow Moonstone that we start to see these links with the feminine as well. And this is largely, I heard about Rainbow Moonstone, I think back in year 2000, as being a treatment for women's issues, which we're talking about premenstrual tension, premenstrual syndrome, or menopause problems, for people that are trying to fall pregnant and having fertility issues, and even to help with the childbirth process as part, if I can stop stumbling over my words, as part of childbirth pain management of labour pains. Now, other attributes include, excuse me, I need a cough. Sorry. So other attributes also include things like balancing the hormones, where there's issues with the metabolism and thyroid function or dysfunction. It's said to support good health there. If there's blood circulation issues, anything associated with the blood is supposed to benefit or be benefited by Rainbow Moonstone. What I was interested in, and I can't say that I've got experience of this, but I am aware that it is promoted as a crystal to support good sleep, and that people that have insomnia, they can benefit from putting a piece under their pillow, stuff like that. If somebody suffers from nightmares and night terrors, especially in children, it's supposed to be beneficial and help alleviate them. The one that I really was interested in was this business of the circadian rhythm. Now, if you don't know what the circadian rhythm is, this is our body clock, our internal body clock, where there's enough evidence there to state that when we go to bed at night or whatever, that our body responds obviously to light and dark, and it's going to find it easier to go to sleep at night time, what we call nighttime once the sun has set. But of course, there's many people that now work in this environment where they do night shift, and then they have to sort of change their whole body clock to be able to get quality sleep during the day. So we're talking then about adjusting and adapting the circadian rhythm to lifestyle needs or choices. So apparently Rainbow Moonstone helps with that as well. Other attributes include assisting and supporting healthy dieting, healthy digestion, and it's recommended for people that have got problems with their weight. Be that, I would imagine, it doesn't say, so this is where your feedback is going to be really interesting to me. It doesn't say, from what I can gather, whether this business of weight management is for the people that are underweight or overweight. But to be honest, I've got to say, my rationale, my guidance, if you like, is that it's going to benefit people whether they're underweight or overweight by helping them to eat the appropriate foods and also supporting their dietary needs. And if they've got issues with fluid retention, of course, it's supposed to support with that. Another one I haven't put on there is that apparently people that have got weak muscles will benefit from using or working or holding or wearing Rainbow Moonstone. And I believe this is probably part of why it's recommended for women post-childbirth, is to help repair these weakened muscles through the birthing process. So when it comes to the attributes for healing of the mind and emotions, we can see once again why Rainbow Moonstone is considered to be a feminine crystal. And this is because if we stick to the stereotypes and the traditional perceptions, I guess, of women, it's associated with the mood, the feelings, the cycles of life. It's said to foster calmness and to help navigate your emotions and to find balance during stressful times, especially if you're riding an emotional roller coaster. So when we talk about intuition, we're also talking about the capacity to feel and be sensitive. And what we find is that I'm really mindful of stepping into stereotypes here that might not be pleasant for people, but whatever, I'll go for it. Okay, so traditionally women are considered to be less rational, less practical, more reactive, impulsive, because they tend to act on their feelings. And I'm talking about from the negative perspective. However, the idea is to turn these capacities into positive. So if you can feel and have a reaction, then you can feel and make a choice for a healthy action and a healthy consequence. So the idea is that Rainbow Moonstone helps navigate this and teaches us, I guess, responsible decision making, responsible behavior, where women might struggle historically. I say this, but men have the same issues as well. Okay, many men do this as well. They give up, at that almost the last hour, the finish line's ahead of them, but they have to dig deep to do that final push to reach their goal and destination. So Rainbow Moonstone is said to assist with this kind of stuff as well. If people have got psychiatric illness, Rainbow Moonstone is said to be very beneficial there as well. And also, I would imagine when it comes to the psychiatric illness, it's potentially helpful because it carries these properties of promoting awareness, understanding how and why you got into a certain situation, what your choices might have been. Because at the end of the day, you're going to see a lot of stuff when you go into the spiritual world or whatever, where people are saying, oh, you made the choice, it was your decision, nobody was responsible for anything that happened to you but you yourself. Well, the reality is that as we walk this path, we might have chosen stuff before we were born. We might have chosen some of these really difficult lessons. But as a human being, when we're walking the path and we're faced with some of these really big challenges that might involve trauma, perhaps, all of that kind of stuff. Trauma is quite often stuff that has happened in our environment and to us, and where we have responded to it. So we're not responsible for what people do to us. That is their choice, okay? Our choice lies in how we respond to that. So this business of awareness and developing awareness is taking a look. What happened? What did I do? What did they do? this inner reflection. And what can I do now? And sometimes it involves forgiving other people. Sometimes it involves forgiving ourselves, because we might have reacted impulsively to something, this feminine aspect, whether you're male or female, we could have reacted impulsively. And in that process, actually compounded the difficulties that we face in our current life. So then it becomes forgiving ourselves for being human, for being impulsive, and then deciding that, going forward, we are actually going to manage our actions and reactions. And from there, we make our choices as to what our future is going to look like. So these are all things that Rainbow Moonstone can help us with. I mean, I've got a lot more here on the list, which is things like, if we're aggressive by nature or we have aggressive reactions, Moonstone will help to calm that. If there's disharmony in our life and we're unsettled and uncomfortable, Moonstone is very soothing, and it's going to help us to really navigate the emotional experience and to find balance even at the most stressful times of our lives. So we could consider in many ways that Rainbow Moonstone is an empowerer. It's a personal empowerer, harnessing the emotions to positive outcomes. So, as I said before, the fact that Rainbow Moonstone has the word rainbow in it, because it does reflect these coloured lights, this means that you can use rainbow actually on any chakra, and it's beneficial for all the chakras. Um, and I think when you look at it like this, you actually understand why it's beneficial to channeling or to getting the balance, okay, is because when we talk about balance, we've got this line of the chakras running down the middle. Now, when they're all in perfect function, if this is what you were using your Rainbow Moonstone for, then you're going to be in perfect balance throughout your life. You're not actually going to be overreacting. You're not going to be living in fear. You won't be anxious. You will feel loved, loving, lovable, all of this stuff. You'll have greater confidence in your own abilities. You're going to be able to trust your own decision making, your future, and all the rest of it, So, yes, you can use rainbow as an overall balancer, or perhaps if you feel that you're dealing with anxiety or whatever, you might want to wear it as a pendant around your neck or something like that. Or you could meditate and try and heal specific chakras that you feel are out of balance. But yes, it's good for all of them. So when it comes to suitable uses, of course, yes, you can wear it as that pendant. That certainly was how I've worn it initially. I think that was because when I first heard of Moonstone, it was recommended that women wear it. Um, Three, in fact, actually, I think I saw a woman. This is why I learned about Moonstone. She had three pendants on a piece of leather around her neck, and I recall now actually, one was Moonstone, one was rhodochrosite, and the other one was Bloodstone. And apparently, these three crystals are certainly recommended towards women to help address with their hormonal problems and any of what we might call women's issues or feminine issues. And by that, of course, I'm talking about the monthly cycle. So that was when I first heard of it. And if you've got problems with your cycle, you might want to consider that. Other times I wear them quite often as earrings. I do have pendants and I do have rings. Sometimes I would wear them as the entire setting. And I've got to admit that when I used to wear them, it was just because it made me feel good. And I think if we were looking at, comparing it to what the metaphysical properties are, if I had bothered to dig deeper, perhaps the idea of me wearing the entire set might be because it was calming and it was soothing to me, because it does feel nice when you're wearing this Rainbow Moonstone. It inspires hope, I guess. Look, the other thing is too, I've never found, I've put it up here because you could use it as far as uses, meditation, holding on to Moonstone, but I've actually never found Moonstone in the type of qualities that would make it a really good specimen for holding during a meditative state. I probably should recommend it also, although I don't do gridding. I guess there's Moonstone tumbles out there that people might use for gridding or for holding. I can't say that that's been something I've done, but if that's something you've done, feel free. Please let us know your experiences. I also haven't used it as a talisman for protection. but I imagine that wouldn't be a problem. Would you have to have as an amulet? I think if you're just wearing it, if you consider it to be a protector, you don't need to have a specifically carved amulet or whatever. And if you're suffering from sleep problems, yeah, you could put a tumbled under your pillow at night, or just wear, if you don't take your rings off at night, wear your rings to bed in the evening. Or if you're like me and you tend to wear your earrings to bed, what you'll end up finding, in my experience, is usually one comes off during the night and you've got to try and find it. I've lost a few earrings through doing that, so I must remember to take my jewellery off at night time. But these are just a couple of suggestions. If you've got some other ideas, please do feel free to let us know, because it's all good fun, isn't it? As always, I've given you a couple of examples or samples of affirmations that you could use. But just a reminder, the best affirmations a person can use are actually the ones that they make themselves. And they are also self-focused. They're not delusional, they're grounded and practical. So I'm going to put this disclaimer in here. I don't know if I've done it on other videos, but people do that. I am beautiful. I am. I have to wonder whether or not that paves the way to narcissism, and a little bit maybe over the top of self-love and perhaps delusions. We're all beautiful. Okay, that's the bottom line. We're all beautiful. But when we're saying I am beautiful, is that inferring that we're somehow more beautiful than other people? These are the things that we look at when we're actually making affirmations. So the ones I give you are ones that help you to reach your aspirations, shall we say, in grounded, practical ways, and hopefully retain a level of humility about yourself, in the recognition that we are all divine aspects of the Creator, and we all have gifts, and we all are growing at our own perfect rate for us. We're all different as well. We're all same, we're all different. So anyway, here I've got the couple, which is I am open to expanding and enhancing my intuitive gifts. I am. Right? You can see within that it's talking about I am focused on me, but not to all exclusion of all other people. Okay. It is putting the power on myself. When I say I am aligned with the energy of the God, goddess within, I am, right? So we're putting the emphasis on the I am, because when we say I want, that pushes the manifestation away. The I am is right here and right now, and it magnifies the manifestation outcomes. And the other thing is, with our affirmations, the success of them is not dependent on other people. Okay, it's all about self. And if I was to go into this a little bit further, so I'm doing a bit of sharing information and teaching today in different ways. The whole point is that we have to fill our cup first. We have to be able to fill the cup with self-love. Self-love does not mean self-obsession. It is this comfort, the acceptance, the knowledge that, we are a good person. We do deserve to have good things. We are kind, we are caring, we are compassionate towards other people, we are compassionate to ourselves, but we recognize we have to care for ourselves. So think of it, this is actually really aligned with Rainbow Moonstone. If you are a mother and you neglect your own health, right, and you continually sacrifice for your children, you will end up being emotionally and psychologically drained, and perhaps even physically depleted. We've all heard stories about mothers that go without, they don't feed themselves because the children are hungry. I'm not saying starve your children if you're in that situation. I'm saying make sure you take a couple of mouthfuls for yourself, because if you starve to death, your children are on their own anyway. And this is why self-care is important. And when we talk about this spiritual aspect of life, we're raising and filling our own cup so that we can better love other people as well and be kind and compassionate to them. I don't know if I can put up an image of a cup right now, but picture the glass overflowing. Once your cup is full, it just flows out with no effort. It just keeps flowing. But you've got to be putting something back into yourself. I hope I've explained that clearly. If you've got a better way of articulating, feel free to make a comment. So if I had a client, when I talk about the messenger and oracle aspect of a crystal, this is because I've got my lucky dip, okay, where I get people to put their hand in and pick a crystal. If I'm doing online readings, then obviously I will call upon my guides and put my hand in and pick one for them. And let's say Rainbow Moonstone jumped out, or White Labradorite, then the obvious first base message would be that life is cyclical, a reminder to them life is cyclical. There are ebbs and flows. And if they feel that their life is spiraling out of control, then life, that wheel of life, when the cycle is going down, it only can go so far before it bottoms out and before things have to turn around and start changing. And so I'd be reminding them, hang in there, because things are going to turn around. If Rainbow Moonstone is coming up, it's telling me that the cycle, you may as well say the downward spiral, has probably just about reached it, if not reached it, and it's not going to be too long before the wheel turns around and starts spinning upwards. And it would be encouraging them to really monitor their emotions and their reactions. Now, I say this as that's one of the first things that would come to mind, but of course it's all contextual. It depends upon the person that I'm reading for. The other one would be certainly looking at this business of feminine hormones. If I was reading for a woman, actually even for a guy, if there was a guy who was in a married relationship or a partnered relationship, I would be asking questions. As much as I say a good psychic doesn't ask a lot of questions, I certainly would be asking questions, if not of them, of my guides, that whether or not this person is actually trying to conceive this child, if there's a few pregnancy issues going on for the family. And if I'm honest, I think at one point in time with a Rainbow Moonstone, I actually, and I'm digging in my memory bank here, but I have vague recollections of suggesting to somebody that there was an issue with their fertility, where they actually need to get some support. Because what I felt when because a lot of the time that's the intuitive aspect, was that they were trying to have a child. They'd been trying for a while without success, it turned out. Look, by the way, I'm right. When I actually come through with this kind of information, I'm going on my guidance, and it generally is on the money. But what I got for one person was that they would conceive, but they needed to see a doctor first. They needed to get some support around the fertility and the issues that were blocking them. And I can't remember if that was IVF or what, but my understanding is that all came to fruition, that the child was born. On other times, I might be reminding them that, sometimes, especially because of this cyclical aspect of life, and with it being up and down, that, sometimes things feel like they're a failure, or, especially when the wheel is at that bottoming out stage. But the reality is it's not a failure. It is a case of, it's an experience where we have an opportunity to learn. And things may not have turned out the way that we wanted them to, but we've learned from that. It doesn't mean that you give up on the dream if you are actually working towards a dream. It just means that you take this new learning, this experience with you going forward. And sometimes, I've been guilty of this myself, actually. Sometimes it's about trusting the wrong people, especially when you're attempting to manifest, or being ungrounded and irrational and distracted, a lacking of focus or whatever. But each situation varies. It's, dependent on what's going on. If people are feeling unstable, just ground and connect yourself. Do your chakra alignments as well, would be another message that I might convey if somebody picks Rainbow Moonstone. So when it comes to crystal care, I guess I've kind of alluded to some of the things, which is that, if you're going to wear them as earrings, don't wear them to bed. I wouldn't be wearing them into your shower or when you're washing your hair and stuff like that. And that includes if you've got moonstone rings. The other thing too is, of course, if you are going to do your housework or whatever and you've got moonstone jewellery, take it off because you will actually damage it, probably with chemicals, if nothing else. But, if they've got a lot of these striations in them, which I have shown in the other slides, they become the potential flaws. It's very easy for those crystals to break if they're dropped on the floor, or if they fall on the floor by accident. So if you're the kind of person that wears a tumbled stone in your bra and you forget about it, you take your bra off and it hits the tiles of the bathroom floor, it will probably break, okay? If it's about the metaphysical cleansing and charging, well, in fact, actually cleansing in general, look, you wouldn't scrub it. You would not, if you're just doing a clean of your crystal, you wouldn't put it into these heavy cleaning solutions. My understanding is that you can actually do a little bit of soapy water and then rinse it off well, gently rinse, and then dry it with a soft cloth. But if in doubt, take to a jeweler. Don't take my word for it. Go and get some advice on it. And the other thing is, from the metaphysical perspective for the clearing and cleansing, I use selenite. I come back to it all the time. I use selenite for everything. And so I would just be placing my jewelry or my tumbles or whatever onto the selenite log that I've got, or the lamp, depending on how I feel. But at the same time, you could also use your incense. I'm not one for putting things into salt and rice, each to their own. If you do it, let me know. And let me know if the salt was abrasive to the moonstone, because that would be my concern. Otherwise, look, because it's got the coloured hues, I'd be very mindful, because I'm Australia, of putting it out, or I live in Australia, of putting it outside in sunlight. I would not be doing that. I definitely would be putting it out for a moonlight charge, because it's moonstone. If there was a full moon, I would like to put my rainbow moonstone out for that, to really harness the properties of the moon. But if you've got other suggestions, please let us know in the comments. At this point in time, because the video's got very long, again, as usual, I'm going to wind it up very quickly now, and once again invite you to leave your thoughts, your comments, your experiences, any of this kind of thing in the comments, and I will contact you with a response, perhaps on the wall of the channel. And I may, if I decide to make mention of your comment in the Sunday yarning, I'll let you know so that you can be aware of it. All right. But for now, though, I'm just going to say thank you very much for being part of my journey. Have a wonderful day, blessed week. Take care of yourselves. Catch you on the next one. Bye-bye for now.